What's up, Faith Promise Worship winning team? It is Snowmageddon 2024. Can you guys believe what we're witnessing? It's insane. So obviously the Woodshed resource is going to be a little different this week as we are all snowed in. If y'all could see my driveway right now, there has not been a snow plow, a snow truck, nary a one come past my driveway, and I have a Honda Civic. So I'm stuck. We're all stuck. So praying for you all. Hope you guys are staying warm and safe and fed. We are going to still walk through our experience for this week, which is on the 21st, with this resource. And obviously, you guys will still be there Sunday morning and get your opportunities to run through it as a team. And so first, we're going to keep with what we usually do. Our value for the week is discover purpose, and our handle to live that out is we are passionate about living God's purpose. So whatever that looks like in your life in this season, are you externally focused? Are you making sure to not just think of yourself in self-development and leadership? Are you developing others? Whatever sphere of influence that you may have, that's the handle we're living out this weekend. So for January 21st, we're going to start with our pre-experience. Now, if you haven't served yet this year, we have a new flow that we're going with, and that starts with a FP News countdown. It's all about what's coming up in the life of our church. We're talking through next steps, how people can get connected, all of those things that used to be in the hosting segment. We now have up top via a countdown that rolls for 2 minutes. The band does not play with this countdown anymore. And so the band will come out when the experience director calls them around 1 minute to get plugged in and ready to go. And then the band swells into that first tune. And I'm going to kick it to Austin for notes on that.
Yeah, so like Jess is saying, we have that FPTV news countdown. And so once we get to 5 seconds in that news countdown, drummers, you'll fire track one. So you will not need to fire track one at the beginning of that news countdown. But once there's 5 seconds left in that news countdown, you'll fire track one, and you'll hear the tracks call you in. It'll say band swell, one chord. So then you'll swell up on an A, because this Sunday we're going into Praise You Anywhere. And then it'll go into the song Like Normal. And then we'll go into I Speak Jesus. So that will be a bigger intro, because we're going to be crashing out big of Praise You Anywhere. So drummers, you'll do some toms, a little bit bigger swells from the EGs. And then at the end, so that song we will end with a big chorus, and we'll bring it down to just a pad. The pad will automatically come in. Drummers, you will not need to fire it. And so this is where the transition can get a little tricky. We will have 2 different track fires for every victory. We will have track 3 will be the off-track version, and track 4 will be the on-track version. Like I said, it'll automatically go to a pad. So you can have a moment to sit, or you can go straight into it. Track 3 off track, track 4 on track. If you go with the on track version, it will start at verse 2, and then it'll go the rest of the song as normal, but it'll start at verse 2. If you're off track, just be sure to watch the clock. We'll have about 3 minutes, 30 seconds for that, for you to flow off track. Just communicate it with your worship leaders and producers to make sure that that's clean. And then at the end of every victory, we'll go into the hosting.
Yes. And on that moment, that is in the male key. And if you will make sure to fill that space, fill that time, as we are linked up across campuses so we don't catch up with the Resi feed, make sure you're filling that entire moment if you decide to do that off track. Cool. That'll go into campus leadership. Again, if this is your first time serving this year, this is where we used to have our hosting, where we would give information about next steps and connection. All that, again, is now up top in the experience during that FP News segment. So this portion is really more about the campus pastors getting an opportunity to lead their campus. So this weekend, they're going to be talking all about Revival Night on January 30th. That's happening at all of our campuses. And so during that, the band is playing underneath it. And then they will go straight into a generosity moment. Now, generosity is still where we're going to pass the buckets. We're going to pray. We're going to share a story about surrounding generosity in that moment. And I'm going to kick to Austin to talk through the band about what they're playing in that moment and where you want to keep dynamics for each segment.
Yep. So during the campus leadership portion, for campus leadership and generosity, you will be flowing on a 4-5-6 1/3, and that will always be in the key of the last song. So we will be in the key of A. So you'll be 4-5-6 1/3 during the campus leadership portion. When they begin to talk about generosity, maybe they're sharing a story about something that's happening at their campus. Right there, Ben will bring it down. Make sure that before he prays. That way, we're just making sure that we're matching the dynamic of what's happening in the room. So that for all of the hosting at the top, it'll be 4-5-6 1/3.
Yep. And then at the end of generosity, there's going to be a segue. So all of this is happening at local sites from the top to through generosity is all at campuses. Towards the end of that generosity, like he said, you're going to stay out for that generosity moment through the prayer. But towards the end of that, the segue is the campus pastor will let everybody know at the local sites, hey, we're joining together with all of our locations to hear a powerful word. But before we do that, let's give Jesus one more shout of praise. And as they're doing that, so after the prayer of generosity, the band is going to want to build back into that moment to play into the dynamics of the campus pastor leading into that moment. Again, you're still playing the progression that Austin talked about, but you're kicking it in to make sure that segue, that transition feels nice with broadcast. So again, playing that progression, kicking it up after we pray over the generosity into the message portion. This weekend is all about Discover Purpose, and Pastor Zach's going to preach on that for 28 minutes. Towards the end of that, we will have our gospel and response set up. Again, that's all going to come from Pastor Zach at the broadcast campus. And then towards the end, after he kicks to response, we will go to our response song, which is Send Me. Again, if you haven't served yet this year, this is a new tune that we introduced last week. Last week, it was in a different key. This week, it is in B flat. And so I'm going to have Austin speak to that for a moment and just make sure everybody's good on how to find those resources, what you should be singing. Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, so the two big changes for Send Me is that the male worship leader will not take it over at the very last two courses. So it'll be the female worship leader singing the whole song through and through. It'll be the same arrangement if you played last week, but all the resources should be up to date. We just had to change the soprano part to an alto. So sopranos, you will now be on melody. And altos, you will have what used to be the soprano part, but it's now the alto part because we bumped the key up. Those are the two big changes. Other than that, the song is going to be that same arrangement that we did last week if you were attending or if you were serving.
Awesome. And after Send Me, that will be on track. Again, your off track option for this week is at the top of the experience. And so we will do Send Me on track. And at the end of that, the worship leader will dismiss. Again, if this is your first time serving this year, we are ending all of our services with that response and prayer moment. So if people are still down front praying, watch your dynamics band as we get out of that response song. If people are still down front, we're going to transition to Spotify, prayerful, worshipful Spotify playlist. And so just watch your transitions. Worship leaders, that will be the female this weekend. You will send people out. I will be updating the notes on if you are to share any specific information for that. So check back on your PCO for what you are supposed to dismiss on. That will be in the notes section as well. If you click in here, it'll be right under the description of how you send people out with. But that is January 21st. Thank you guys for preparing. Again, apologies that it's not our usual resource, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to a central staff member or to your campus producer to answer any questions. We will see you Sunday. Stay warm, stay safe. We love you. Peace.